Peace and love, man. Um, I was so blown away by all the responses to like my answer to the hippie slang quiz. So, man, I thought what I'd do is come out with Chronicles of an Old Hippie. So here goes, part one. Man, I was like 13 in 1967, and it was like cool to be a hippie. And I was kind of new at this thing. You had to know that back then, man, there was a lot of racial tension going on, blacks and whites, and like there was trouble at school all the time. So, like, one day they get on intercom and they say, everybody go home right now because, like, there's going to be all these high school kids marching over to the field. Now, where I was in junior high school, there was a huge field, man, between this like junior high and a grade school, and it was like big enough for about 50 soccer fields. But that's where a lot of the protest marches came to, and they said, man, you need to get out of there. And I think what they were doing was like getting all of the white kids out of there because my junior high school was like in the black neighborhood. And I know that's racist and uncool, but back then there was a section of town that was all black, and then everything else was like white, man, and the black folks all lived in this one area. So when these kids were all marching back, they were afraid we'd get caught between the school and the white neighborhood, and we'd have problems. So they made us all go home. And there's this cat named Charlie that was in class with me, and he said, man, I can't go home alone. Dude, my mom and dad don't even get home till 4. Can I come over and stay at your house? And like maybe when everything blows over, I can like borrow your bicycle or take the bus or something to go home. He lived a couple miles on the other side of town in the downtown. So Charlie came over, and like my mom had these morning glories around the back porch. She had built this string wall that went around like two sides of the porch, and the morning glories grew from the ground up to the top of the house. And Charlie said, wow, man, did you ever eat any of the seeds and get high? And I said, what does high mean? And he said, you've never been high? And I said, I don't even know what it means. So we're in the house, and he sees I got a cat, and he says, do you have catnip? And I said, yeah. Did you ever smoke any catnip and get high? I said, man, Charlie, I don't know what high means. I've never done that. So he tried to explain to me what it was, and he said, forget it. I'm coming over on Saturday, man. See if you can get $5 from your parents or something, and I'm going to get us a nickel bag. So back then, they would measure pot by sticking a baggie into a shot glass, and we all know a shot glass holds an ounce. So like they would pour enough pot in there to fill the shot glass, and then twist the corner off, and that would be a nickel bag. A nickel being 5, it costs you $5. Then they would sell LBs, which was a pound, and LDs, which was a lid, and a lid was basically an ounce. Still is. But like Charlie brought over the pot on that Saturday, and we went over to Walgreens and bought a corncob pipe for 39 cents, and we smoked pot. Man, talk about giggle. We laughed at everything, man. It was like giggle weed to the max. Everything was funny. We laughed so hard I almost wet my pants and snotted out my nose and things. And that was it, man. After that, getting high was cool. And being that young, it seemed like, oh, that's terrible. I mean, you're going to get addicted and die. But we all know the reasons you can smoke pot is because God made it and it's natural. Well, God made heroin and everything else too. So like that excuse is lame, but it was cool for me because I was justifying what I was doing. So there I was, high for the first time, and it like opened this whole new age to me, man. From then on, I was hip. My hair was short. I had bangs down to about here. And we were split into groups back then, peer groups, and like you were either a surfer or a greaser or a jock or, oh man, what did they call the rich kids? I can't remember what they call it. Socias, as in socializers or social crowd, whatever. They were the socias. So like, then there were the hippies, man, and they didn't fall into any of that crap. So I went from being a surfer, which was you like wore penny loafers with no socks, and you wore your belt buckle on the side instead of in the front, and you wore the bangs and hair touched your ears. And I went from a surfer immediately into hippie. Charlie was a greaser. My brother was a greaser. A lot of mixed up things in the neighborhood, but pretty soon I was just hippie, man. Hippies were like everybody who got high and felt like the peace and love and the cool things about socialism and the philosophy of hippies, and then later on it went into something else. But this is Chronicles of the Hippie, the Old Hippy. Part 1 is over now, and I don't really talk this way, but it's part of the persona. I'm wearing my old hippie beads that I got in 1967, and I'm wearing my groovy hippie jacket, which truthfully a lot of people have said, can I get one like that somewhere, or will you give me yours? Well, no, I'm sorry. This one has been mine for 38 years, man. Can you dig it? And the headband, you know, you have to roll it so all the paisley coolness showed in the front. Because if you roll it straight up in that bandana shape, you just get the plain old red. So we rolled it so you could get the cool paisleys in there, man, and it looked groovier. So then later on, we had like beads around our head or like horsehair knotted in strings or whatever. But hey, that's Chronicles of the Old Hippie Part 1, and I'll be back for more. Peace and love.